Have you checked the children? You're a little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
And Jaime Fuego here.
That's right. We are back, you guys, for the second to last day of coverage for Shark Week 2020, which is an extended Shark Week. It's Shark Week times 2. It's 12 episodes of Sharks across 14 days, minus the Hail to Stephen King episodes.
Yes,
we gotta squeeze those in there.
I'm glad you guys like them, but sharks are scarier.
But yes, guys, this is basically the culmination of our Shark Week coverage.
Exhaustive coverage, by the way.
Indeed.
So
Tomorrow,
much.
you're getting one more review. We're going to put up Sharknado tomorrow, and then that's it for our Shark Week coverage. But as you can see here on the screen, I don't even know which way I put things.
Voila!
One of these sides is
Yes.
going to have the actual
Present them.
perfect look at the actual movies we're going to be doing here. So we're going to be covering, just to clarify, we're covering all of the bigger Shark movie releases, all of the theatrical ones, as well as a few of the straight to DVD movies that just frankly were better than your average sci-fi movie. Now, there is one sci-fi shark movie on here, but the reason it's on there is because it's the ship that launched what is it the saying? The ship that launched 1,000 boats, or the woman that launched 1,000 boats?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know that saying that well, but it's someone can correct me in the comments below. But it is the movie that launched the popularity of sci-fi shark movies with Sharknado.
Truly, it's the most iconic of all of those. Sharktopus versus, whatever.
Croczilla.
The Shark-and-Saw women's prison, house shark.
Swamp Shark.
Yeah, I know there's
Jersey Shore Shark Attack.
Yes, another that I actually would have watched just for the sheer novelty factor of seeing, that
Jay
cast.
from Bloodbath and Beyond shout out says Jersey Shore Shark Attack is actually one of the better ones. Yeah, of those.
I mean, how high is the mark set though?
I thought you were going to say how high was Jay when he watched these, and I'm like, I don't know.
Probably bad.
Probably pretty drunk at the very least, if I know Jay.
Yeah.
But guys, we are here to talk about all of these shark movies and rank them in our special tier ranking system that we absolutely did not invent, but we absolutely have been exploiting to our advantage. Now, you guys are going to see this. You love that? Yeah. So just so you guys know, as of this airing, the only tier list rankings on our channel are the ones that Fuego did. We just finished a 5-episode tier list ranking of every Stephen King novel that he has written that is not short stories or anthologies. Or what, the same, one and the same.
Novellas. Yes.
There you go. That's what
Collections of novellas or short stories.
And then we've also put up our tier list ranking of 2 different episodes of our horror franchise tier list rankings.
Yes. We haven't gone franchise specific yet, although we've recorded.
Tier list rankings for Hellraiser, Child's Play, Critters, Freddy.
Yeah.
Is that all of them? That might be all of them.
Howling? You guys
Howling, yes,
Yeah.
The Howling, which is coming in September. So we have all of those ready to go, you guys.
Much.
But the more pressing one for today is our shark movie tier list ranking. We could have done a tier list ranking for the Jaws movies or a tier list ranking for the Deep Blue Sea movies. Those episodes would have been relatively short, so we're going to go ahead and do all of the bigger shark movies in one here.
Indeed. So, despite the fact that we filmed all of those before, we are going to jump the proverbial shark.
Oh, you just had to figure out a way to get that joke in there. Oh, that's not what I meant to do.
But of course!
All right, so let's go ahead and start with the mother of all shark movies here, Fuego.
Which we all know where it's going to go.
I think we all pretty much do. This is the
Yeah.
original 1975 Jaws, directed by Steven Spielberg.
Indeed.
And I think there's absolutely no argument that this
None
is
whatsoever.
S tier.
Yeah, this is the one that started the summer blockbuster trend.
Period.
Yeah, exactly. It was in theaters for months upon months, which wasn't really too odd at the time, but nonetheless, people were lined up down the street all across the country for this one, and it was the talk of the town, the country, and everything. I was talking with my parents about this movie just today, and they were like, Yeah, we remember seeing that, and people were nuts about it. It was like around this time, it was Jaws and Exorcist, because they were a few years removed from each other
Yeah.
as far as like the two
Yep.
of the scariest films of all time that people still agree set that mark so high, man. And yes,
Two of the largest horror movie scores of all time as well.
yeah, tremendous. This is John Williams who did this, if I'm not mistaken. The
Yes,
score,
sir.
Score at least, and as iconic as anything, it induces dread immediately, even for those that I'm not necessarily sure were like had even watched the movie. But there is just such a stigma as far as pop culture goes with this that yeah, and it messed me up as a kid, as I know the sequel did with you. But just sharks in general.
Well, to say nothing of the fact that it started numerous trends. The first being making do without your main villain, and doing it with different ways. The other being
show less being
using
more.
the music to substitute as your killer in camera shots.
Yes.
Quite frankly, you knew Jaws was there because of the da-dum, da-dum, da-dum. And this, I maintain, I will argue, like we covered this in one of our great horror debates, but I still think that this is the most important and best movie score of any horror movie in existence. I think it beats. Everyone always says Jaws and Halloween. I think this beats Halloween personally.
Yeah, and as much as I love the Phantasm score, I can't
You always
argue.
go to bat
I can't
for that.
I can't argue with just the significant cultural impact of it. You know, that's more niche, and yeah, man. I mean, it's really tough to say that anything topped this.
So there you go. We're in agreement on the S tier, right?
Yes, and I'm suddenly, for whatever reason, as we shift to Jaws 2, thinking of the shark sketch that they did on Saturday Night Live.
Land shark.
Where he's like, "But I'm a dolphin, ma'am.
Got
I'm
some
a dolphin."
flowers
And
here.
she's like, "Oh, a dolphin? Oh, okay, I'll let you in."
All right, so Jaws 2, where we do not get Steven Spielberg's return. However,
Unfortunately.
we do get the return of Roy Scheider and Lorraine Gary.
Yes.
And Murray Hamilton.
And they're both good in this.
Yeah, it is a true follow-up. It's got,
What's
you
the
know,
name of the director? Genet. God, I can't remember. He did a film called Bug shortly before this, which essentially got him the job, although he was a replacement for a previous director. Watch our full Jaws 2 to get the full extent about that, probably. But nonetheless, one of the best taglines ever, as we also mentioned.
Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water. Yes, absolutely it is. But, Fuego, where do we rank this? It does have the cast. I think it's quality. Now, here's where it's going to be interesting for us, because you and me are already getting flack. We're already getting flack on our reviews of Jaws 4, where we're like, "Oh, this movie," and people are like, "This movie sucks," and then some people are like, "Actually, I agree with you.
Yeah.
This is silly fun," you know. And so, even though we enjoy that movie more than this one, I don't know that it can be said that it's a better made movie than this one. So where do you rank Jaws 2? Where would you put Jaws 2?
I would probably put Jaws 2 B, more like a B+, but since
I'm
know...
kind of agreeing with you.
I mean, I know the death of that one particular girl who is saving... It's Sean who she's saving there, right?
Correct.
Because,
yeah. The babysitter girl, essentially. She was the one that was watching out for Sean, correct.
Yeah, but... I would imagine some people were like, no, this is A, this is A. It just wasn't for me.
I don't know that anyone's going to argue that this is an A-tier movie.
Yeah.
Compared to the other movies on this list,
shark
maybe?
movies on this list, though, as I look and
Look, we can feel free to adjust as we go.
Yeah.
We can adjust as we go. But right now, I kind of agree with you. I would consider it a... yeah. No, I don't think I would consider this an A. There are A's that we will get to.
There are a couple more. There's two in particular that I'm seeing.
I think I agree with you on.
No.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be interesting. So
well,
next
I know
up,
one in particular for you, although you might even push it to an S.
I would push it to an S. Yes,
it's something you reviewed with your mother.
Indeed, yes.
Which
and
they don't know.
We're going to argue about it. But next up is Jaws 3D, which is the SeaWorld Jaws, for those of you that don't know the actual numerical attachments to the series.
Yeah, and as we talked about in our individual review of this, a great concept that I felt squandered and could have been really badass and just didn't really do it for me. But you do have, some Randy Quaid and Leah Thompson, and I mean, it's nicely shot at times, and I mean, the park looks good. I don't believe they actually filmed it at SeaWorld, if I'm not mistaken, because it's supposed to be SeaWorld Florida.
I thought they did. Where else would they have filmed it?
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure they did film it at SeaWorld.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was some generic standby.
Look, I will happily take the
park.
L on that if I'm wrong. But
Yeah,
if they
and
didn't
if I'm
film
wrong,
it at
I
SeaWorld,
will-
then they did a damn good job.
Yeah, because I've never been to SeaWorld Florida, so
I haven't
don't know.
either,
Yeah,
but it
I've
felt
only been
real.
to San Diego, but
It felt real.
Yeah, nonetheless, this is one that. There's a lot of apologists for it who prefer it over Revenge, but especially after this. I saw in the comments, man, people were like, 3 is so much better than Revenge. I
disagree.
Yeah,
It
I
doesn't
disagree
even
as well.
move. It glides through the glass at the end. It's not even swimming. Ugh.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, this
I
one-
give it a C.
I might even go D, but it's more like a C minus, I guess, because
There's a lot
because
of
it has
bad
the-
shark
It has
movies.
the
I
Jaws
think it's a
name,
C.
and there's a lot of stuff that is way worse than Jaws 3D.
Yeah.
Obviously. Between cast and actually, I don't think the acting is really particularly terrible.
You got
at
Dennis
all.
Quaid.
Yeah, and,
You got Luke Gossett Jr.
That's who I was going to mention, the Iron Eagle guy, right?
Yeah, Luke Gossett Jr.
Yeah, he's awesome too. Even though he's in a slightly limited role, I wish he could have
I
had
actually
a little
liked,
bit larger. He's like the stand-in for the mayor in a lot of ways.
I like Dennis Quaid's wife too, the blonde. I thought she was really strong, the dolphin trainer. I thought she was a good character.
Okay. Yeah.
So
yeah,
I don't know,
as I just said,
you-
I don't think the acting is that bad. It's
you
just-
would have leaned towards a D, is what you're saying?
No, I could say C minus for this one because it's
Okay.
still a Jaws movie, and I like, even if Revenge doesn't really follow some of this stuff, although it possibly could. The fact that we have Sean and Mike and stuff, and the fact that the rest of there's no character that particularly bothers me in this aside from like the whole. Well, that's not character, but subplot of the heist aspect
Oh,
and all
God.
that stuff is kind of lame.
The nighttime heist.
Yeah. Although it's somebody get killed, I guess. So, it's more like a C minus for me, but I'm fine with it being in the C tier. It is a Jaws film, and there's worse, at least in my estimation, on this list. So,
Next
in a
up,
few cases, far worse.
here we go with our first controversial one, Jaws: The Revenge. Now, this one holds a special place in my heart because this is the first advertisement for a Jaws movie that I remember seeing in the newspaper when I was a boy. I remember seeing this very advertisement, no less.
This time it's personal.
Yeah,
Another
this time it's
interesting
personal.
tagline that
Totally stuck with me, though. Totally stuck with me. And I love the silliness of this movie. It's not even like Sharknado silly. To me, this movie is less silly than 3 was.
Yeah, agreed.
It's silly that the shark is in the Bahamas, and it's super silly that the shark has chased the Brodies from New England to the Bahamas. However,
of the plot,
the
as I
movie
say.
itself is enjoyable.
Yeah.
I think Mrs. Brody's dream when she gets attacked out by herself in the middle of the blue water,
Very creepy.
still frightening. I think the banana boat attack is still frightening.
Sean at the beginning, I
Sean at the
remember
beginning?
seeing that as a kid with his hand gone, and once again, very similar to when I was recanting the child getting killed at the beginning of the original to you, and I remembered it being so much worse when I rewatched The Revenge. It didn't seem like I remembered strings of flesh and stuff like that. It's not quite like that.
No.
There are aspects you imagine when you see this really young, but I saw this on TV very, very young. My parents did not know I was checking this out, and I don't think I got much past the beginning of it when they realized what I was watching. But that scene with the carolers will always stick out to me as one of the most unsettling of the entire franchise. Like, it is messed up stuff, man, and
I think it might have stuck out the same way it stuck out to me because he kept calling out for God.
yeah.
He was like, "Oh God, help!"
me.
Like,
Yeah.
it's fucking terrible. But also Mario Van Peebles, amazing in this movie.
I like him in this movie, and you know what? People hate on Michael Caine, and I like him in this
He's
too.
great
I
in
think
this.
cast
The
is
shark chase, Michael being chased through the wreck,
Yes.
underwater. Great scene.
good. Yeah.
I dug it. I like this movie. I give it a B.
It's there with Jaws 2. You
Yeah.
know, it is not a C. It is 100% better than Jaws 3D. There's a lot of people that will argue.
It's the epitome of a B movie.
Yeah, it is. And interestingly enough, I saw some other comments on our individual reviews for this one where people said, yeah, as far as the trilogy for me, it's Jaws, Jaws 2, and Jaws the Revenge. Maybe not a lot, but a few people said they skip 3D and they just go 1 and 2 and
Some people
Revenge.
don't even consider 3D canon. I saw. They're
It's-
like, I think
yeah.
the story is 1, 2, 4.
Yeah,
But,
well, I mean, the fact that Ellie being in all 3, she came out of retirement to make this movie, and she has good chemistry on screen with Michael Caine. Their little romance that they got going on, And I don't know, it was well shot, and I dug just some of the dance scenes and everything, man. And the gambling scenes, as silly as some may find them to be. I like this movie. I do. Unapologetically. So there you go.
You don't gotta apologize to no one.
Apologize.
Apologize. All right, next
Ain't
up.
you that guy?
So this is going to be interesting. I am
I saw
torn
some
between
of the,
two.
I saw some of the comments about this one.
I'm torn between two levels on this.
We got some hate for this one.
I'm torn between two levels. I really like this movie. This movie is amazing. It's fun. It's campy.
very fun.
It holds up. The effects were done well enough back then that they still even hold up. Like the shark effects in this, I think, are even better than the shark effects in Bait, which happened like 15 years later.
The fact that we had some decent extended looks at practical sharks, especially when they're trying to extract the brain
the one
fluid and everything.
that they pull up. Yeah.
And even when a certain female character is trying to escape and the shark comes up and gets her, and it is a physical shark that pulls her down. I will give you that the CGI sharks do not look very good in this. It was at that time where they were still trying to perfect this sort of stuff. But based on cast, based on just iconic kills, some sorts of silliness, this is A for me, but I can understand if you think it's more like a B at this point.
I was actually trying to decide between S and A.
Oh, S and A. You know, I mean, for me, it's probably the only other S, but I could knock it down to A if you think it's
no,
more
I'm
deserving
tempted.
if you don't think
I'm
it's
tempted
aged
to
as
go
well.
S. So that's the thing. It's not as good as Jaws.
No.
This is one of those situations where we fully acknowledge it's not as good as Jaws. So maybe for that reason, we should keep it in an A. However, that means that there's not going to be any other S tier shark movies.
Yeah.
And I think that this is S tier for
Really?
different reasons.
Really? Because I thought the one
No,
that
there's
I
one
mentioned
other one that
already
I
would
would,
also be, because it's really that one and this one that are the only that I would say they're not on the Jaws level, but they're the only other ones that I would consider an S.
For different reasons. I agree. I say let's do S.
Okay.
I feel like this is S just for different reasons, you guys. Granted, we're not saying that this is as good as Jaws.
Yes.
Hey guys,
Keep that in
we're
mind.
not saying this is as good as Jaws.
No, that's
okay?
why Jaws is in front of it.
But this is
Not
an
just because it was
S
released
tier
before.
shark movie.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. All right.
Deepest,
Next
bluest.
My head is like a shark
Shark
fin. So it's like a call and response at this point.
Yep.
Deep Blue Sea 2. Now, we watched this when it came out in 2018. Didn't even deem it review worthy at the time.
Yeah, because we were trying not to do those Hate Brigade reviews, which, I mean, we're not the Angry Joes of the world or whatever. That's not our approach a lot of the time. It's just not fun for me to hate on movies. I always like to look at them objectively. That's from my journalism background going way back.
However, the completionist in me makes me feel like if we're going to review the first one and we're doing this shark tier list ranking and we have to watch them again anyway,
And since I
we
like
might
the
as well
third one.
review them.
Yeah.
However, I would put this at an F.
It's obviously D or F, and bless you, Brian Gatto. I think this is maybe more so than any other shark movie of what we have here. So aside from maybe a Sci-Fi Channel film, I have no qualms with giving this an F, man.
Yeah, I think it's just there's not. It's dumb, but not even fun dumb.
No, the rehash of setting, and that's one thing
It's-
that the next one we're going to
It's
discuss.
like Evil Dead 2 and Evil Dead, except this
Except
one
nothing like
sucks.
it?
Like it's the same story though, is what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
the same story the same way Evil Dead 2 was to Evil Dead 1.
Except you have tiny baby boring sharks that become the
Yeah,
main
they just
antagonists in the
made
back half of the film.
Piranha.
Yeah.
Like that's all it was. It might as well have been a school of piranha instead of a little tiny grouping of baby bull sharks.
And I hate to say, the cast is terrible, and the
Cast
acting,
is terrible.
and I mean, really, Sharknado and those sort of films. I haven't watched any of the later ones. That might have even had better acting than this movie did. I really hate to say that, but yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to spend too much more time on this one.
I don't either. Yeah,
All right.
I would prefer to forget about this film, but I can after watching it.
I'm
a
okay
second
with giving
time.
it an F. Like I was kind of between D and F also, but there has to be a level. There has to be a level.
There does, and that's where.
Now,
I'm
if we
gonna-
did
and that's
all of
where
the
it's gonna be-
the sci-fi shark movies as well,
we would have
then
to
this
change
might
the
be
grading
D.
system.
Yes,
yeah,
and
we'd
then-
have to grade on
yeah.
a curve or whatever.
However,
sort of thing.
amongst these, and really in and of itself as a movie, it is a fail. However,
Just about
the
every
newest
fashion.
one, which just came out, which is actually the reason we're doing all of this,
Yes.
because Deep Blue Sea 3 was coming out. I knew we were going to review it, and I'm like,
Had
well,
to.
we might as well just frickin' do Shark Week.
Yeah.
Because I'm an idiot, and that's the kind of decision making I make as a showrunner. Well, we have to review one shark movie. We might as well review 12.
That's almost stupid enough to work.
It's so dumb. Let's do a tier list ranking too.
Yeah.
Fuego, you don't mind if I just pile some more work on you here, do
Yeah,
you?
exactly. Just more chum for me to chew on, man. It's fine.
Yeah, now neither of us like shark movies as much as we used to.
I can take a break and maybe recalibrate, and I'll be fine. But
So, Deep Blue Sea 3, however, is not a bad movie.
no, and I sure thought it was gonna be.
I did too. It does continue the story of the sharks from part 2.
Yeah, 'cause we
no humans from part 2 though.
But they're surprisingly, whereas Deep Blue Sea 2 didn't even mention the first Deep Blue Sea, Deep Blue Sea 3 mentions the first Deep Blue Sea. They talk about the research with the Makos, then they talk about the bulls, and so I mean they actually tied it all up a little bit better, which I was, and we have Bella, the mother of the tiny little guys that we hated so much in the previous film, and this one just seemed to be more aware of the cheesiness of it all, and they embraced it with, I mean, bro down fights and with callbacks to certain unexpected kills that happened really quickly. And I mean, hey, the acting's not great, but this was more on the Sharknado side of things, where I was like, yeah, I actually thought it was alright, you know, as opposed to, and I actually put this above that film and even a few others that we watched in the last 2 weeks. So dare I say, maybe I go C.
I was
this
leaning
one.
towards C as well. I don't think it's a D. I think it's better than a D.
Yes.
I'm like tempted to fill spots because I like my OCD doesn't want to have any empties. However, if I'm going to be honest about this movie, I enjoyed the setting.
Yeah.
It's a little fisherman's village that was built on the water.
Yeah, and
that
so
they then could sink parts of.
So completely
and
different than the previous two films, which
Yeah.
was great in the setting, and we
the
actually
main character was good. I like that actress.
Yeah.
She's been in a number of things, including
also-
one that I just watched recently. She was in oh god, she was actually in a trailer for something, but she was in Falling Skies, I believe.
Okay.
But also, oh god, I'm gonna forget. I
it's
talk
fine.
about her
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Deep
yeah.
Blue Sea 3.
Yeah,
So,
and
maybe not
nonetheless,
Falling Skies,
I'm a sucker for where we have nice underwater footage and we're seeing, you know, corals and fish and all that other stuff, which the previous two Deep Blue Seas did not do, and it takes me back to being a little kid watching that National Geographic stuff and that great with much more just crude camera setups that they had back then, actually just swimming around and seeing these beautiful settings, and they do a good job of that in this, aside from just the actual place where above the water we are, it looks beautiful, the stuff that they shot below as well. So
There is the one great white shark too that she knows, Sally.
oh yeah, who also plays a part and gets her teeth into some. So you've got your three bulls, you've got you know, a great white, and there's, it's like the genetically engineered sharks are in contention with the great white. I don't know, man. This was a film.
Great whites, yeah.
Great whites, multiple ones, because they chewed apart that one, and when they're early on in the
There
film,
was like
they
three
see
of them, yeah.
the remnants down there. So yeah, I mean, hey, this isn't great, so don't go in with some sort of expectation. But as much as I really just hated, and Cecil as well, that the second installment, number 3 was a pleasant surprise, and we're not alone. In a lot of other reviewers around, you know, the interwebs, or they're bloody disgusting wherever else, they've kind of had similar sentiments. So give it a chance. That's what I say.
Fair enough. Moving into another series that has established itself very recently, actually, that actually came after the success of a movie we're going to do later on.
And this was originally under a different title, if I remember, and then it was acquired for theatrical release when it was originally going to be VOD.
I can't remember what it was originally called.
Yeah, me neither, but when we did Fangoria FearCon, if I remember, that there were people selling it because it had been released internationally under this other title, and then when the shark craze started to happen, I think this came out right after The Shallows, right?
Yes.
And The Shallows did so well that they're like, we're going to put this some bitch in theaters.
That's
and
right,
in
they delayed
turn-
the release a whole year.
Yes, and in turn, it
Holy
performed
crap,
well.
that's right, it did. It
Yeah.
performed really well.
Very much so. That it
But
got a sequel.
Quite frankly, upon a rewatch, I
This one I
liked
didn't
it.
rewatch, unfortunately.
See, I did. I rewatched it a few months ago.
Okay.
So it's still fresh enough in my head where I was like, because I was like, I hadn't seen this in forever.
Yeah.
And
Mandy
I
Moore,
actually
son.
liked it. Like, I might have liked it more the second time around than I did the first time around. I would, as far as Sharks movies go, I'm between an A and a B.
Ooh, boy, I was gonna think more C, but I haven't rewatched it recently. You know, there's like kind of some fake out stuff in the finale that I
actually liked it the second time
Did you?
around. Yeah.
Did you? Although I love me some Mandy Moore, everybody, and I think she doesn't get enough credit as an actress, although she's much better at that than singing. And
If we're putting
everything.
Deep Blue Sea at an S, I think we could put this at an A, but I'm not against your putting it at a B. Like I said, I'm an A or a B.
I could go B with this one personally. Maybe I would think a little bit different, you know, upon a rewatch, but because I unfortunately don't have that very recent, you know, sort of recollection and stuff. Yeah, I would say B plus, but yeah, its sequel is a little bit lower in the rankings.
Not much though. Let's get into it. So 47 meters down, Uncaged.
Yeah.
So this is the one that's the Descent meets Sharks, which is what Blackwater Abyss is.
Yeah,
The Descent
which
meets
we're
Crocodiles.
about to review today. So there you go.
But this one, while we weren't expecting much, this one was also released theatrically. We went and saw it.
It was.
And
Johannes
we
Roberts
enjoyed it
returning to
more
direct.
than we thought we would. It was more thrilling. However, not as good as the first, so I'd be okay with going with a C on this one.
This is more C or D for me because while I did like the kills and Johannes Roberts is a great director, even if he did do The Other Side of the Door.
Don't wanna answer.
I mean, he's still like he has an eye for things, and I have appreciated the predominance of his work. That was still not that badly directed of a film. It just was a pretty poor storyline. It was the acting in this one specifically. Sylvester Stallone and Jamie Foxx's daughters, if I remember correctly. That's what would push me more so to a D plus like kind of range.
I don't think it's that low.
But there's one kill in particular that was really a fun, cool surprise in this one. So yeah, I could see myself putting this at a C.
Let's do C
In
then.
C.
I think C is the fair place to go with this one.
Yeah, setup alone is cool, and
Execution was still well done. The
It
blind
was- it
shark,
was-
whatever, it was still cool.
Yeah, that's right. This is another one that I haven't revisited since
I haven't either.
since the original viewing.
But I remember
So,
it sticking enough for this. So.
I do remember the tweeny just kids irritating me, like more so in this than even in something like a Shark Night. But oh well, I am fine with C. C is cool.
So then we're going to move on to the last two that are part of a series in this, which is Open Water 1. So this one, even though it's not technically a shark movie, even you can see the poster here, they were really playing it up being a shark movie.
Yeah, and as we redid it this week, and I rewatched it for a review that you guys have already seen just a few days ago, I was like, man,
I'm a D on this one.
I'm okay with that. I'm actually okay with that because of the fact that the reason this became as popular as it was, I was reading that after acquiring it at Sundance, Lionsgate, I believe, was the ones who put it out. They put like nearly $10 million in marketing for this movie, playing it up and, just focusing on the trend that was pretty fresh at the time of the found footaginess. And that's why it made $55+ million at the worldwide box office on a budget that was a little over $100,000. It's not a good movie, it tried to have some artistry to it, and I'm not saying it's absolute trash, it's just, execution and finished product. Props to the people who made money on it, from the studio to the initial directors that sold it, but this is still a very drab and dull movie. It's just kind of one of those lost at sea sort of situations, just like our two characters, where, this one doesn't do it for me, man, and I'm okay with a D here.
Yeah.
I'm okay with a D. Hell, the next one we're going to talk about, I might even push more so into C territory, but nonetheless, and C being the letter C in comparison, everyone.
Yeah, my OCD is going to mess with me if I don't fix this. Okay. So the next one is the second movie in the Open Water franchise that was not meant to be an open water movie, but was rather a movie separate. So the first one was a movie called Adrift that they then acquired and made Open Water 2 Adrift. The reason that's not on this list is because there's no real sharks in it.
Yeah, it's just more
If
the
I
whole
recall,
lost at sea
it was
aspect,
one
and-
person that
yeah.
died from a shark, if that. I think it was just people drowning and being adrift in sea.
Yeah,
This one, however, was
I've
a
still
movie.
never watched that one.
You don't need to worry about it.
Okay. I figured
This one was called Cage Dive originally. I think there was even a trailer released at one point called
just
Cage
with
Dive.
that title, and then Lionsgate's like yoink.
Yep, and so now it's Open Water 3 Cage Dive after 47 Meters Down came out. They're like, oh, let's just grab that for Open Water. And so,
What was happening at the time?
upon rewatch, however, it's better than the first Open Water movie
It
as
is.
far as enjoyment. The
It
Great
is.
Whites are a lot scarier than the lemon sharks or the reef sharks that they had in the original Open Water. You had the rogue wave that tipped over the boat, so there was some effects worthiness in that.
Indeed, as far as like disaster film sort of stuff, I mean, it's the only sequence where we get something like that, but it looks very accurate, effective, and it's scary, man. Yeah, it's good.
However, we
The
didn't
acting.
like the characters and the
The
acting.
characters are
It's
terrible.
really rough.
They're really
So,
bad.
where would you put this one, Fuego?
It's more C- for me.
It's
you
not a D.
know?
It's not a D. I would put it
not a
C.
D. Yeah, I'm very much okay with this at like lower level C. I'm trying to remember the actual percentile in this regard. So yeah, that's fine. That's fine. You can hear us talk all about Cage Dive. Separate review. but
Indeed. Hang on one second. Let me make one little adjustment here.
Just a little bit.
I'm going to move our shark over.
Yeah, we got to
Need
do it with the
some
Stephen
room.
King stuff, so it makes sense.
Okay, so next up we have, you know what? Let's do a bit of a palate cleanser. So that's everything that is part of a series
Yeah.
of shark movies.
Okay.
Next up, I want to jump to kind of the joke, which is Shark Tale. This is a shark movie, you guys, and
Yeah, it
it's
is.
Shark Week. So we're going to talk about Shark Tale, which was Jack Black and Will Smith
Yep.
doing a mob movie under the water. Essentially.
And one of the strangest meldings of properties I think I've ever seen, especially upon rewatch. I saw this in theaters, maybe even in 3D if I remember correctly. But I think DreamWorks had still done a couple Shrek movies at this particular point, right?
Mhm.
Had they started the Train Your Dragon series yet?
I don't think
so.
Dragon had started yet.
Yeah,
no.
yeah, but this was one that had a lot of star power. You had Robert De Niro, you had the aforementioned Jack Black and Will Smith, Renee Zellweger,
Angelina Jolie, Martin Scorsese.
Yeah,
Who's who of all the wise guys of Hollywood?
yeah, Peter Falk, man, Columbo, yo, yeah, he's got a funny bit in this as a lounge singer at a funeral and stuff, and it's more of the kids' cheese than I actually remembered it. I thought it was slightly more clever, just trying to be like catering to the adults that were bringing their kids with the whole mob angle. Upon rewatch, I think I like it less than when I initially saw it in theaters. It's beautifully animated. It's imaginative in the aspect
At
of,
the time, it was
at the
beautifully
time,
animated.
it
It
was
does not
beautifully
hold up
animated.
that well.
Maybe not quite as well. I mean, the sharks really, the design of them, I think, but it's not trying to be scary
the
or
fish
foreboding.
characters all look really
or
kind of
anything.
weird too. It's
I think it was deliberate design in that regard, though.
yeah, but I don't know. The
I thought-
animation level has risen from here
It
quite
has,
a bit.
thanks to Pixar and also DreamWorks in and of themselves, right? You know, with those other properties we mentioned. The design of the cities, though, and all of the clever little nods to, Coca-Cola being... I mean, it was basically so many different popular brands and things that were retrofitted to be sea-like. I can't even remember. As opposed to Gap, it was like Gup and stupid things like
Katie
that. So,
Current.
yeah, who was also voiced by Katie Couric, which was funny. So I mean, yes, there is some cleverness to all of it, but as a whole, it's very cookie cutter in the opportunistic character that lies about actually doing something.
Gambles
when
away
they
the money he
didn't.
shouldn't. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah, and honestly, in a lot of ways, did Will Smith's character really
He's
deserve
such a
to...
douche.
He was terrible in
He was
this. He
horrible.
had no reason to have the redemption
he was the Zach Morris
that he did. Oh,
kind of freaking.
You were more of a Slater guy?
No, it's not that. It's that even though Zach is
Time
intended to
out.
be the cool guy,
Time out.
every problem
Oh, yeah.
on that show was Zach's fault.
Isn't there that super...
Zach Morris is
Yeah,
trash.
yeah. Isn't that... I was going to say, it was a whole thing where it just, like, spins the narrative and makes him seem like the most awful awful person, and then he's like, isn't it great that I'm such a better person? If I'm going to paraphrase Wayne's World, isn't it great we're all better people? Except for Angelina Jolie's
Yeah, Will Smith is
character.
horrible, and yet he comes out on top again and again in the movie.
Yeah, so, for the fact that I don't necessarily feel like this gives good messages to the children that it was really trying to target here, I think it tells them that you can be as craptastic as possible, and then you can still have a change of heart in the 11th hour. If I'm going to be really contentious, the thief on the cross sort of situation, it's D for sure. I mean, just based on the creativity, the voice cast, and everything, and that they give it their all, but otherwise, yes. Yeah, in the surprise, everybody, this is a D. Do you think it's better? Well,
this is one of the worst shark movies on the list.
it's great debate.
All right, so moving on.
I like that audible, though.
Let's go to now. These are all shark movies that are one-offs, and let's go ahead and start with Shark Night 3D.
You just wanted to say shark again.
So this is one that was originally released in 3D. Obviously, you can't watch it in 3D on home video unless you have a 3D TV. I don't even know if they put out a 3D version of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but that was a thing.
Now, Fuego, you had never seen this before this round of our watch-throughs for the review for this Shark Week. Now, if you can briefly sum up your thoughts?
Briefly summing up thoughts. Okay, so I think I just...
What did I do?
I said in the review that it was like Jaws meets Wrong Turn in some ways, maybe with a little cabin fever thrown in there. And yet, the fact that I didn't understand that there was going to be human villains and how they were going to incorporate that into it, I was more pleasantly surprised based on the fact that I went in with such, like, donuts for expectations, as I always like to say on here, that it was gorier than I anticipated. And more fun than I anticipated. I was expecting an F, man. It's like C or D. It's not good.
I would give it a C.
I'm okay with a C, actually. Yeah. Being under the sea.
Yeah, it's
we're
not
seeing
good.
The predominance of this,
but it's better of the bad ones.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say it's too much better or worse than Open Water 3 or 47 Meters Down.
Or Deep Blue Sea 3, yeah. I mean, it's
exactly.
pretty on par.
These are all like very middle of the road, enjoyable shark movies in a particular perspective, frame of mind, whatever. You can have fun with all the films that are in the C tier right now. So
next up, let's go ahead and jump to the Reef.
Cool.
Let's jump to the Reef next. Now this, as we mentioned in our review of the movie, this one is kind of a mixture of Open Water 3 and Open Water 1, right? Isn't that what we said? I can't remember what we said.
Well, and it was also, oh goodness. I know we had a few where there was just, people lost from the
that's why it was
boat,
basically,
I guess you can
it was
make that
amongst Open
comparison
Water and
in
Open
that
Water
regard.
3, so...
This is the best of that bunch, or any sort of, other attempt at just being lost and there's sharks trying to chow on you. And
boat capsizes and they have to try and swim to shore in shark-infested waters.
Boy, this is either an A or a B for me.
I'm in the same boat, yeah.
Man, some people may find it absolute blasphemy for me to think we should put it above Jaws 2. I'm kind of leaning in that direction.
I am
Some
too.
may really disagree.
No, I enjoy it more than that. Like, again, there's not a lot of weak points in this. The acting is good.
Very good.
The effects are well done because they mix the live shark stuff with the actors really well.
I cared about the characters. There was genuine tension, just like this director's previous film, Black Water, which I really, really liked. Like, I connected with the characters. They set them up in a little preamble of sorts. There is dramatic dynamics that, while, stuff we'd seen before, the actors with the direction and with their performance actually made me care. And for that reason, even though Black Water has way less of like a kill count in comparison with this one, as far as Aussie horror goes, this and another one might both be A status for me, and I'm fine with putting them there, man.
Yep,
yeah,
me too. All right, next up, let's go ahead and get Sharknado out of the way.
Yeah.
So this is obviously the only sci-fi one, but it's the ship that launched 1,000 sharks. I think that's the saying.
Yeah.
But Fuego, where do you put Sharknado?
Maybe the others are more enjoyable. This one didn't do it for me, man. And while I enjoyed it more than our other F, it's a D or an F for me, man.
Yeah, it's still hard not to say F.
Yeah, this one is F. It's bad. It's poorly acted. It has more charm than a Deep Blue Sea 2.
They get more charming as they go because they're more self-aware, and they get even crazier, and then some of the charm starts to wane.
Yeah.
But yeah, here at the beginning, it is an F tier shark movie.
Yeah. Maybe they were just trying to find the current of movement, so to speak, and yet this one
It revels in being an F tier shark movie, pretty much. So
Yeah, and there is a little bit more sophistication, dare I say, to Open Water, which is our D, and obviously Shark Tale is a joke for us having it on here. But yeah, Open Water at least had a little bit more of a sophistication to the approach and everything. This one does not. It's better than Deep Blue Sea 3, though. I will at least say I had moments where I was amused.
Deep Blue Sea 2, you mean?
Excuse me. Yes. Deep Blue Sea 2. Do not get those two confused. My goodness. Deep Blue Sea 2. Yes, it's absolutely awful. Sharknado has a tiny bite of redeeming quality here and there, but yeah.
I bet we're gonna get pushback on that.
Maybe.
A lot of people are like, "No way, Sharknado's awesome," but they're gonna be like, they're not realizing that I saw Sharknado when it first aired, and it was just another sci-fi shark movie.
Look at the other stuff that we're putting it against, and contend that it should be. Maybe a D, but
maybe a D.
Yeah.
But I'm content with an F.
I am totally fine with an F, man, because I was actually hopeful I was gonna have some serious fun with it, and I did not.
So next up, I think, let's do Bait. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Fuego, I think this is the other one that you can consider as an A.
That was what I was gonna say. I just rewatched this today before we came over because I got through everything else before hitting the Horror Show Studios today for this tier ranking and doing some of our other shark stuff. And I knew we already reviewed it, so it wasn't imperative watching as you told me. But I was like, I remember really enjoying that one, and the cast and the ensemble and the setup and a lot of the kills. And I made the effort to. It's on Tubi, I think, which, you deal with commercials. But this one, I enjoyed the hell out of, to quote our buddy Robert Dole. And this is, maybe it's more like an A-, just like The Reef is maybe as another Australian one. Although this was a co-production between Singapore, where I think it's supposedly taking place
acting-wise.
In Australia. But nonetheless, this one has a couple very awesome dramatic scenes. There's a few characters that we laugh at and hate and that we don't take that seriously, but similar to Deep Blue Sea, it's got some dramatic sequences that kind of hit you too, despite the hamminess at times. It balances the tones very well. It has one of the most unique setups of sharks loose in a
flooded grocery store and parking
garage below them. And it's got everybody in the cast, dude from Nip Tuck, a few other
Dr.
bit
Doom
players
from the Fantastic Four movies.
Yes, totally. Yeah, an Australian American actor that is great, and nobody else really brings this proverbial ship down. And there's
little Pomeranian. That little Pomeranian brought the show down.
But although, remember...
No, I know. I'm saying brought the show down. I loved it. The little Pomeranian was dope. Cute little Pomeranian.
And there's some good kills in this. There are people being bitten in half, and some of it, yes, relatively CG.
Yeah, the CG is apparent in this one at times now, but I don't think it takes away from the enjoyment of it because it mixes it with some practical, at least shark mouth chewing on stuff. And again, the idea of being, inside your car with the windows rolled up, submerged, where the water level is basically right where the roof of your car is, you don't think that'd be unnerving until you see a giant 20-foot great white shark swim by you, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, that's scary.
Yeah, I even put this one above The Reef, even if they're both A tier.
I agree.
I put this one ahead because of the sheer fact that Jaws 2, Jaws the Revenge, the bees that we have below, those were sequels to stuff. Even the whole cage dive aspect, 47 meters down and stuff that came out around the same time. This is, as far as setup goes, one of the most unique shark movies that I have ever checked out. And for that reason, while it's not on a Jaws level, obviously, or maybe in a similar level of cheese, Deep Blue Sea, it's probably in my top 5 shark movies that I've watched.
Mine too.
Yeah.
I think our top 5 is going to be apparent after this ranking, quite frankly.
Yes, I think we're...
So
great
before...
minds sometimes think alike. We don't always.
Yeah, exactly. Before we get to the one...
Let's do the one that... And good choice, because
Yes.
this is one that, especially since you made me read the book, and
High hopes.
once I got into the book, I was like, okay, you didn't even really have to make me read this, because Steve Alton's original novel, I haven't read any of the sequels, regrettably, but that original novel is so damn good and similar to Crichton, implements actual genuine scientific research that I'm not here critiquing, because I don't have that sort of knowledge a lot of the time, but I have seen, and heard him speak, and just the extent of everything that he's incorporated. I was really, really excited for this movie, although I do feel like it was a warning flag when I knew that it was being produced by this Chinese company, and they wanted a big action star like Jason Statham, which doesn't feel at all like our lead in the book. And so, boy, this one was a major, major, major disappointment for me. I'm not going to toss out any letter just yet, but I know you were a little more forgiving initially, and I feel like your
I'm still a little
has
forgiving for
wavered
it.
a little.
So I love the Meg series, although my love of it has started to wane as the books have gone on. There have been 6 books at this point.
He has some
I've read them all.
Some new web thing he's doing.
Yeah, that's what's cool. He's doing
Yeah.
a virtual, essentially SeaWorld, but in his book series, not only are megalodons still alive, but there's an entire Panthalassus sea full of literal prehistoric sea creatures that are still alive. And someone in Dubai, a rich prince in Dubai, is building an aquarium where there's a, plesiosaur from the original, dinosaur era, where it's the thing with the long neck and the flippers, and like the mosasaur, which you saw in Jurassic World. Giant old dolphins, giant old fish that are called Dunkleosaurus and something like that.
Dropping here, man.
So basically what he's
it.
doing is he's creating a virtual theme park that you can go and sit in the room, the observation room, and watch these giant things swim by on your screen. So I'm really excited about it. So yeah, keep your eye out for that. So I love this story, and this movie was a really big betrayal of the story. However, because it started out to be directed by Eli Roth as a rated R movie,
and he wanted to push the envelope, and they were not allowing him.
They were not doing it. They wanted to make it PG-13 to ensure a lot of money, which they did make.
They did.
They made a lot of money, and the second one is in pre-production.
Yep.
But the movie itself is not good. However, I don't think I can take it below the midline there.
The C?
I think it's a B. I still think it's a B.
B. Okay.
I think it's a B. I'm between B and C.
I would contend C. C is really crowded.
I could be convinced to C.
C is really crowded.
But we shouldn't let that affect us. If it's a C, it's a C. And I can be convinced to be a C because, yes, there's no gore. The giant shark is cool. The underwater lab is cool. Terry is cool. The little kid is cool.
The little kid was great. I mean, she has some interesting, tender little moments, and
even
some
Dwight
funny,
Schrute
and some funny jokes too.
Dwight Schrute was good enough.
I didn't even mind the former Batwoman in this. I thought she was
that's true.
I thought she was all right.
So that's what I'm saying. I think.
Okay, I guess I can see it. I can
see it as a B. You can B it.
It's a C plus, B minus.
Okay, we're in relation to the other movies.
In relation to the other,
I think it's on the level of 47 meters down, not 47 meters down 2.
I'll agree with you there.
It's got the silliness of Jaws 4.
Have the big epicness to it. Even if I just wanted the Eli Roth vision so much.
But we can't judge it based on what we didn't get.
I know. And there's a lot of people who wanted Crichton's Jurassic Park to be R-rated too, and they scaled that back as well, similar to here. So I guess B is okay because I did enjoy it at least more.
We both acknowledge that it could be B or C.
I think the reason I would put it in C is because of that burden of expectation I always point to. I mean, I probably had more fun with Shark Night than I did with the Meg, but that's because I wasn't expecting jack, dude.
Yeah, your expectations were way up here for Meg, which delivered here,
I
and your expectations were way down here for Shark Night, which delivered here.
I was stoked,
So-
dude. I was stoked for Meg after reading that book, and I still need to check out some of those later entries. Maybe once the second film is
If you
getting
go, I would
closer.
say go up to
The third one, I think
at
you
least
had
up to
told me
3.
previously,
The third
because
one is my second favorite behind the first movie because it's a reality show
is the
that
second
involved
one,
Megs.
Is
The second one
the
is-
Trench.
Yes, the second one is
Okay.
the trench.
You
that
didn't like that
invo-
one as much?
It's got more to do with an underwater lab and
Well, the underwater lab we
prehistoric-
saw in the film, right?
prehistoric crocodiles is more the villain
No, okay.
than the Meg.
Yeah,
but-
because we didn't have the lab in the original film, if I remember.
no,
correctly.
not in the
Yeah,
original
yeah.
book. No.
Yeah. Yeah, the original book. Thank
So
you.
that's going to lead us to the final shark movie, which is one that Fuego mentioned earlier is near and dear to my heart because it's the only review on the entire channel that my mom actually did with me.
Yeah.
It is a movie called The Shallows, and it stars Blake Lively, or if you're Fuego, Ryan Reynolds' wife, ex-wife, wife, still wife?
I think they're still
married?
together.
I
They
can't
are the
keep up with
cute-
Hollywood.
They're the cutest on Twitter, man. The way they go back and
Oh,
forth.
do they? I don't even know.
They dig each other. It's funny. They kind of troll each other on the twits, but
Now,
anyway.
I loved this movie. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was scary. I thought it was tense. Blake Lively is gorgeous. It's got some of the most beautiful cinematography. Maybe the most beautiful cinematography of any of these movies. Jaws included. Like, it's gorgeous
I can definitely see that based
cinematography.
on where they chose to shoot it. Granted, hey man, Martha's Vineyard ain't really that much to look at, to be fair. At least
I
in
understand,
at least
but
in my personal estimation, compared to the Caribbean, which is where they did this
Also,
one,
I
if
think it's the
remember right.
best looking shark since... Oh, well, best looking shark, period.
CGI shark. Really? You
Well,
think so?
do you think it doesn't look as good as Jaws with the jowls?
My personal favorite is still probably where they pull the
Mako in
genetic
Deep Blue Sea.
shark in Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah,
That's probably
the
my
practical
favorite.
Mako in Deep Blue
Yeah.
Sea is
It's
great, but
really great.
but
When it
dude, the
bites
shark.
Homie's arm
Yeah,
off,
but the
I mean-
great white in this one, when it gets up on the rocks and is
Yeah.
chomping at her, and then when it's swimming down after her at the end before it
one thing-
impales itself, like
the thing
Oh,
where I have to give
love
this
this
movie,
movie.
so much credit is because of the fact that Deep Blue Sea, very much as much as I adore it, it starts to feel like a popcorn flick after a while, and that kind of lessens the tension. This movie, once we get into our setup, the tension is just there throughout, and you are so scared. Now, granted, being Blake Lively, I didn't necessarily think anything was going to be befell of her. You know, I thought she was pretty safe. But
man, when those other guys try and help her
yes,
and stuff, like,
that was where the movie did some surprises, because I thought it was going to more so like open water, and I thought it was going to more so do what I'd seen some of these restrained shark films do, because there just weren't enough characters to make me just feel that sort of tension. But just stranded on that rock, man, and just as great as everything looked, and as great as she looked, I mean, I can't deny that. This is A, but I could go S.
it's an S for me.
I'm
It's
fine with
100% an S.
I'm
If we're
fine
gonna
with
give
S.
Deep Blue Sea an S, we
This-
got to give The Shallows an S.
It is one of the best shark movies I've ever seen.
It
Most
absolutely
definitely.
is, and
Most
and I
definitely.
think it's number 2 for me. I think I like it more than Deep Blue Sea personally. I will rewatch The Shallows before I'll rewatch Deep Blue Sea at this point.
I still haven't rewatched The Shallows. I
Borrow
haven't.
it.
I haven't,
It's so
yeah.
good still.
Yeah.
So that's the nice thing about our tier list. I knew this would happen. Our S and A is our top 5 shark movies. Yes.
Well, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So
Yeah, Shallows would be a little bit further back for me. Maybe a 3. I would put.
So I would go.
Shallows-
Okay, let's do our top 5 real quick then while we're here. I would go Jaws, The Shallows, Deep Blue Sea, Bait, The Reef.
Okay. I would go Jaws, Deep Blue Sea. Although that's become tough for me over the years with just
Really?
loving the popcorn aspect.
Really?
Loving the
Wow.
popcorn aspect of Deep Blue Sea, but I can't
The balls on this
exactly. I can't quite do it. I can't quite do it.
kid to have my Shark Tale reference.
I'm just saying it's much.
The
it's-
claspers on this one.
It's like nowhere near as much for me of a
For all
gap
you
as a lot of people
biologists out there.
as a lot of people would say. But yeah, Jaws is number 1. Deep Blue Sea is my 2. Yeah, I'd probably say Bait 3, Shallows 4, although that could change, and then The Reef is my 5.
Fair enough.
It's a little bit different.
All right, guys. Well, there you have it.
And Deep Blue Sea 2 is my last. From
So
this,
that-
from these.
So that
Sorry,
is
Brian.
our
Love you, man.
tier list ranking for all these big shark movies, all the biggest ones, we think. There are some other ones we may have missed. Yes, there are some other shark movies that might have even preceded Jaws or came up right after Jaws that we didn't do, but these are the biggest ones that we felt the need to cover in this tier list ranking. Did you enjoy it? Do you agree with us? Where do you differ from us? Have you seen all of these, or which ones have you not seen? And have you even heard of bait? Like, I want to know the amount of people that watch this and they're like, what's bait?
Yeah,
go watch it.
or
And
the
they're like,
Reef.
oh, that was
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, the Reef too. Like, yeah. The three that we have in our S tier, again, we acknowledge that both Deep Blue Sea and The Shallows are not as good as Jaws,
Yes.
but they are S tier shark movies.
Yeah, because I don't think the Reef or Bait got like wide North American theatrical releases
No, I don't
like
think so.
those three films we have in our S tier.
Both Aussie
So,
movies.
yes. And
Interestingly
props to them,
enough,
man.
yeah.
Aussie horror, it's something that we have become more and more just, I guess, woke about. That's not the right
Well,
term.
no, the
I mean,
thing
just
is, all the best
something
ones
that we've
make it over
realized.
here. Wolf
Yeah.
Creek, right? Wolf Creek
Yeah.
is amazing Aussie
Rogue
horror.
is really good.
Rogue
that
is
was
great.
picked up by Dimension Extreme and released direct to video. I mean,
Lots
there's
of
a lot
great stuff.
Yeah,
They're really good about eaty things over there.
100 Bloody Acres is terrific, man.
That's a great one,
mean,
too.
Yeah, and New Zealand horror. I mean, New Zealand, man, the Kiwis and the Aussies, they do a damn good job.
Careful. You're gonna get people fighting. They don't get along, the Kiwis.
No,
and
they
the
don't.
Aussies.
It's actually been described to me distinctively by a lot of them. I love both, so it's fine. I choose both.
So if you guys enjoyed this episode, let us know in the comments down below. Also, click the like button and subscribe if you want to make sure you don't miss our other stuff going forward. Again, in September, we're going to have the Howling series and then the Howling tier list ranking. We've got Hellraiser, Child's Play, Critters, Nightmare on Elm Street, all those tier lists
love
ready
it.
to go at some point. So stay tuned, and thank you very much to our patrons for supporting the channel directly and monetarily. You can do so in the description box. There's a link there if you want to join up and tell us movies to review.
Yeah.
Is there a shark movie we haven't seen that you want us to review? Patreon is the way to get us to do it. So
Indeed.
thank you guys very much for watching. Until next time, I've been Cecil Laird.
Gracias. I've been Jaime Fuego.
And remember, stay scared.
And opinions are subjective.